You're not broke because you don't work hard. You're broke because your effort resets to zero every single day. And that's the difference between linear income and compounding income. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And most people are trapped in a system where time equals money and you work for an hour and you get paid. You stop working, the money stops too. And it's simple, predictable, and completely limiting because no matter how hard you push, there's always a ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day, and eventually you hit your limit. But compounding income plays a completely different game. It's not about trading time, it's about building assets that continue to produce value long after the work is done. And this is where things start to shift. Because when your effort compounds, today's work doesn't just pay you once, it pays you again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. And the first concept you need to understand is leverage. Leverage is how one unit of effort turns into multiple units of output. In a job, your leverage is low. You don't do the work, or you do the work and you get paid once. But when you create something that can be reused, like a video, a product, a system, or even knowledge packaged into a format, your leverage increases dramatically. And that same effort can reach one person or 1 million people without requiring more of your time. And that's the foundation of compounding income. But here's where most people get it wrong. They underestimate how slow it starts. Compounding feels invisible in the beginning. You put in the effort and it looks like nothing is happening. No views, no sales, no traction. It feels like wasted work. And this is exactly where most people quit. They go back to linear income because it gives immediate feedback. You work, you get paid. It's reassuring, but what they don't realize is they're walking away right before the curve starts to bend. Compounding is not linear, it's exponential. I mean, the early phases is the hardest because the returns are the small. But every piece you build stacks on top of the last one. One video leads to another. One skill builds into the next, and one audience member becomes 10, then 100, then thousands. And suddenly, what felt like no progress starts accelerating. And the second concept is ownership. If you don't own what you create, you can't compound it. And when you work for someone else, you're contributing to their system, their assets, their growth, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to understand the trade off. You're getting paid for your time, not for the long term value. You're helping create. Compounding income requires ownership that could be owning your content, your audience, your product, your brand, or your distribution. Because ownership is what allows your past work to keep working for you. And without it, everything resets. Third is consistency. Compounding only works if you keep adding to the system. Imagine trying to build momentum but stopping every few steps. You never get enough speed to see real results. And this is why inconsistency kills growth. Not because one missed day matters, but because it breaks the chain. And every time you stop, you lose momentum. And momentum is everything. In compounding systems, the people who win are not the ones who go all in for a week. They're the ones who show up again and again, even when it feels like it's not working, because they understand something most people don't. The results are delayed, but they're inevitable if you keep stacking effort in the right direction. Fourth is skill stacking. Your income compounds faster when your skills compound. Most people try to find one thing and they master it, but the real advantages come from combining multiple skills. For example, I'll give you, if you can communicate, create content, understand basic marketing, and analyze data, you're already more powerful than someone who only has one of those skills. Each skill amplifies the other, and over time, that combination becomes extremely valuable because it's rare. You don't need to be the best in the world at any single thing either. You need to be good at a few things that work well together, and that's where exponential growth starts to happen. Fifth is distribution. It's not enough to create. You need a way to get what you create in front of people. And distribution is what turns effort into results, and without it, even great work goes unnoticed. And this is why platforms matter. When you build an audience, you're building a distribution channel, and every time you publish something, it reaches people instantly. And as that audience grows, your leverage increases, and one piece of content can generate attention, opportunities, and income long after it's created. And that's compounding in action. But again, it takes time to build, and this is where patience becomes a competitive advantage. And most people are too impatient to let compounding work. They want immediate results, and when they don't get them, they switch the strategy and switch the platforms or quit entirely. But every reset puts them back at zero. Meanwhile, someone else is quietly stacking efforts, building the momentum, and moving closer to that inflection point where everything, starts to accelerate. Sixth is investment. Compounding doesn't just happen with time, it happens when you reinvest your gains. That could mean in reinvesting money into better tools, reinvesting time into learning new skills, or reinvesting attention to improving your systems. Every gain becomes fuel for the next level. Instead of consuming everything you earn, you use it to create more opportunities. And this is how small wins turn into big outcomes over time. Seventh is focus. Compounding requires direction. If your effort is scattered across too many things, nothing builds enough momentum to matter. You need to pick a path and stay on it long enough for the result to show up. That doesn't mean you can't adjust or improve. It means you don't abandon the process every time it gets difficult. Focus is what allows your effort to stack instead of spread thin. Eighth is time horizon. The longer you're willing to think, the more powerful and compounding becomes. Short term thinking leads to short term results. Long term thinking allows you to make directions that don't pay off immediately, but create massive returns over time. And this is one of the biggest mindset shifts you can make. Instead of asking, what can I get today? Start asking, can I build that will pay me for years? Because that's the real game. Ninth is identity too. You don't get compounding results by accident, okay? You get them by becoming the type of person who builds systems instead of chasing quick wins. That means shifting from consumer to creator, from reactive to proactive, from short term thinking to long term strategy. Your identity drives your actions, and your actions determine whether you're building something about compounds or something that resets. And finally, 10th is belief. Not blind belief either, but informed belief. You need to understand how compounding works well enough to trust the process even when the results aren't visible yet. Because there will be a phase where it feels like nothing is happening, and that's normal. That's part of the curve. And the difference is whether you keep going or not. So, what does this actually look like in practice? It looks like creating content that continues to bring in views months or years later. It looks like building a product once and selling it repeatedly without starting from scratch each time. It looks like developing skills that make your future work more valuable than your past work. It looks like building an audience that grows and supports everything you do. And none of this happens overnight. And that's the point. Because if it were easy, everyone would do it. And the barrier isn't intelligence or talent, it's the patience and the consistency. And most people simply aren't willing to play the long game either. They want results right now, not later, but the people who understand compounding know that later is where the real rewards are. So if you feel like you're stuck, ask yourself this: is your effort compounding or is it resetting? Are you building something that grows over time? Or are you starting over every day? Because once you shift from linear to compounding income, everything changes. Your work starts to stack, your results start to multiply, and eventually the effort you put in today's becomes the income you earn tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. That's the compounding income effect. And once it kicks in, it doesn't just change your income, it changes your entire life trajectory. Thanks for watching today's video. If you found value in today's video and found anything that can support your life in any way, could you please subscribe? Without you, I can't grow this channel, and I need every single person on board because YouTube says I gotta have it. I plan on being here for many years to come, and I hope you join our team. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. I try to respond to every positive comment that I possibly can and delete the negative ones, so don't waste your time. Thanks for watching. Also, check out this video to the right. I'd love to hear from you as well and down in the comments. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.